Need to confess, need to confess.
So finally, pillar number 4 is around the program. It's around your programming. So having knowledge of KPIs, that is key performance indicators, and having flags that match alongside those KPIs. So for me, I've written out the volumes. That's the total volume within the program, and that can be drilled into lower body, squat volume, deadlift volume, assistance volume, bench volume, however you want to split it up. Having a measure of the average intensity. You can also have a measure of the absolute intensity if you wish, but average intensity alongside of volume will give you a nice indication of what the weight is, of how the week or how the program's going. So you might see that there's a week within a block of training or a couple of weeks within the block where the volume's low, but if the average intensity is higher, then it doesn't mean that it's a less stressful week. It could be a more stressful week depending on what the volume load is. So volume load is volume times the intensity. And then fatigue markers. So the example of fatigue markers. Some good example of fatigue markers, if you have some kind of bar speed measuring device, you can have a standard warm-up protocol where you can mark your performance against external loads. So you know if you lift 140 kilos in a squat, normally around 1 meter a second, but you're at 0.8 meters a second, then you know your fatigue is high in that session. Other good examples are your resting heart rate when you're awake, or your heart rate recovery. There are lots of apps on that will give you good information, and that's a measure of systemic nervous activities. So for example, if you wake up and if you do something very crude like just taking your resting heart rate, if your normal resting heart rate in the morning is about 55, if it's up at around 80 beats per minute, then you can be pretty sure there's something up. So it could be that you're coming down with some kind of illness, or that you've accumulated a high amount of fatigue. But having these kind of red flags or these markers are going to help you decide when it's a good time to take a deload. So really what you want to be doing within the volume and the relative intensity is to have a fairly good handle on it, so there's no massive swings. So really what we want to stay away from are swings of 50% up or down. So we want to stay within 150% of your chronic volume, and you want to stay within 50% of your chronic average intensity. So what this means is for the last 3 weeks, whatever your average volume has been, or whatever your average intensity has been, you don't want a swing of greater than 50% or less than 50%. This basically puts you at a greater risk of injury. You want to have some kind of systematic deload process built into your training, specifically around spinal compressions, squats and deadlifts, mainly for powerlifting or what we're talking about. So you might have a deload 1 in every 4, you might have a deload once in every 5, or you might just take a deload based off some kind of marker, such as the marker might be the bar speed measure of your warm-up. If that's down 2 sessions in a row, then you take a deload week the following week because you've accumulated enough fatigue to warrant that deload. But there needs to be structure around it, and I would advocate you just put that structure in place. Even if it's something arbitrary, such as taking a deload once every 4 weeks, that's perfectly fine. At least it means that your spine's getting a chance to be decompressed, be deloaded for a week, and have a chance to catch up to the training. It could be argued that it's better to have some kind of auto-regulatory mechanism within there, some kind of external measure or flag such as resting heart rate or bar speed. That's not going to work for everyone's situation. So you got to choose what's best for your scenario and your own body. Some people might need a deload 1 in every 3 weeks. Some might need a deload once every 7. But regardless of what it is, make it suit, make it work to you, put it in place. Okay, hopefully you found that video useful.